decision about each and every word of the Lord. We ask that you please continue to love God and protect each and every one represented here tonight. We ask all this in your son's name. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board members, you have received the agenda for the meeting. May I get a motion to approve the agenda? I make a motion to approve. A second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the agenda, please raise your hand.
All right, thank you, Dr. Chris. The first item on our agenda, recently the Lieutenant Governor's Office awarded funds from its grant program. Once again, Ottawa County was able to secure a large amount in funding. In order to secure funding, the proposed grants needed approval from a representative and a senator that represents the district. We were blessed to be able to submit our grants with 100% of our representatives in support of all the projects. In all, Ottawa County Schools was awarded $440,000 in grants. This money will be used for several capital improvement projects throughout the county, as well as safety and security equipment and upgrades. At this time, I would like to ask Senator Chambliss, Representative Starnes, Representative Smith, and Representative Lawrence, if you don't mind, come up real quick. We want to give you a small token of appreciation. And we appreciate what you guys are doing. Small gift from our heart to you guys. Thank you, Mr. Smith. You guys just, I know we don't get enough time to be able to recognize people all the time. I just want to tell you how much we appreciate what you're doing. Guys, just so that you know, I think in the last 2 years, these four gentlemen worked together to secure about $3 million total in funding that we've been able to have. And again, these funds are going a long way to help pay down debt, to build facilities, to improve things. I think it says a lot that, you know, I keep getting asked from other superintendents, how are y'all getting more money in other districts? And I say, guys, I hate to give you my secrets, but I'm gonna tell you, it goes a long way when all your representatives are on board and they go, you know what, I support this 100% no matter whether I'm in the district or not. So guys, on my behalf, the board's behalf, I want to tell you, appreciate you. Anybody want to speak, you're more than welcome to, but can we give them a big hand?
I need to say something,
Yeah.
so I will. We want to work together just to show our appreciation for what you all do. We know it's a tough job, the teachers, educators, the board, it's tough. But when we work together and pull together, we make things happen. So I appreciate y'all allowing us to come tonight and just receive this gift. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm not going to spoil the gift, but you are more than welcome to use it to help us keep finding more funding. We will always support you. Thank you all. Appreciate you again. Appreciate you again. All right, second item on the agenda. Recently, we had several students from the Career Tech Center receive their emergency medical response certification. At this time, I would like to ask Ms. Dunn, Mr. Driver, and the students who earned these prestigious awards to come forward, and Mr. Dunn, tell us a little bit about it. Thank you. Back. Come on up now. Did he tell you y'all really do got to speak? Y'all got it?
They're prepared. Well, at the Technology Center, we have several really cool and exciting programs. Probably one of the newest programs that we have at our center is Fire Science. Mr. Driver has been with us a few years now. He had the difficult task of starting a new program, a grant, during COVID. And so he's about 5 years removed from that startup, and he is doing phenomenal things for kids in our county. One of the things that he has done, he's had several state winners representing Ottawa County and the Tech Center in his program. The recognition that these kids are here to receive tonight is part of our CRI program, College and Career Ready indicator, and you know, they have been successful at doing that, and it's something we're really excited about. So I'm going to let Mr. Driver, the instructor, tell you a little bit more about what that exam actually is and introduce his students to it.
Y'all sure y'all want a teacher to brag on the students. Y'all got the time to do that. But really, to God be the glory. I tell you, I've been blessed with a wonderful program. Thank members of the board. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dunn, and thank the parents for giving me wonderful students. This certification, and it's not just a certification. You can get certificates here. You can print them out online. But they received their license from the Alabama Department of Public Health. They passed their national registry, which me, over 20 years in fire and law enforcement, I saw many people being paid salaries to become EMTs and EMRs, and they couldn't pass it on the first quarter. But these young ladies with math, history, and extracurricular, flag football, prideful, they passed it on the first attempt. And that's how amazing it is, and I thank y'all for recognizing it. And I thank y'all for being with me throughout the way, because what they did is all of you all are investing in them, and hopefully this is an inspiration to all of you all's dedication that y'all put in as stakeholders in our programs. So thank y'all.
Well, we appreciate you guys, very proud of you. And, great job. Driver, as always, great job. Appreciate you.
Congratulations.
And, Mr. Dunn, as always, thank you for supporting the teachers and Mr. Driver. If you ever get an opportunity, you want to go see a classroom, I highly recommend you drop by Mr. Driver's classroom. Very passionate about what he does. The ambulance simulator is really cool. We got a lot of great things going on in Talbot County, and the Career Tech Center guys, we appreciate y'all making a difference every day. We appreciate it. All right, board members, Ms. David, is it ready? Okay. Next item on the agenda, last meeting, we discussed the priority school requirements for the state for the Talbot schools. We have, this will be a quick presentation on, okay, yes. All right, so just a quick summary of how we got here. The Alabama Accountability Act of 2015 obviously requires, has requirements on districts if you have a school that has a dealer of help on the state report card. Long story short, if this is state law, this is not Talbot County Board of Education, this is state guidelines. If a school has a dealer in health, then the district has to put together a transportation plan for families that choose to go to a non-felony school or a non-poverty school the next year. A toggle with the report card met the criteria, that's why we're here. And again, like I said just a minute ago, the law requires us to provide transportation from a priority school to a non-priority school. Now, what we were trying to do at the last board meeting is ascertain what the routes would look like, because like I said last board meeting, it did make a lot of sense to run one route if 2 kids wanted to go to Billingsley and 5 wanted to go to Trout Lake. If that was the case, we would just run one route because of cost. What we did, since office personnel, we attempted to call all parents multiple times. Of the 240 returning students for next year, 168 were reached. Now, I had a great time today meeting with the Talbot staff, and I was able to answer some questions, and I want to say it like this. The script that was used, I wrote the script. The script literally gave the 3 choices that we were looking at to not decide what's going to occur in terms of the school, but to decide how those transportation routes would be designed, okay? So when we called the parents, again, everybody used the same script. In summary, we gave them 3 options. I would like to keep my child at a Toggle. I would like my child to be able to attend Billingsley with transportation provided by the district. I would like my child to be able to attend private schools with transportation provided by the district. So what we did is we took that feedback and we obviously kept track of how many parents responded. Of the 240 students, and let me stop there. Talbot, I think, has 252, 255 We didn't survey seniors because obviously they will not be in school next year. So the measurement there, that's why the number's 240 as opposed to I think 252 is the number. Of the 168, 100 students or their parents of 100 kids said that they would stay at Otago. 19 stated they would choose to go to Billingsley. 38 stated they would choose to go to Prattville. 5 didn't know at the time. 6 stated they would be moving. 72 students could not be reached. Of the parents that we were able to be reached, nearly 40% of the parents indicated that they were going to take transportation to another school. I think the actual number is like 38.5%, but right at 40%. Now, when you're trying to determine these routes, obviously there's a large percentage of kids that we were not able to reach. We tried multiple times. I had a call list in my office. It was a master list. We kept up with everything, every comment the parents were saying to try to get just feedback. Obviously, those 72 parents, we tried multiple times. We had some phone numbers that were bad. We were unable to reach them. So the data I'm giving you is who we actually spoke to, not the full scale, because again, there was a portion of people we could not reach. So this map's not, it didn't work out very well, but long story short, you can see I don't know if you can zoom in enough or not, but this map, I'm not gonna spend a ton of time there. You got it. Basically it shows the pins of addresses or houses that what they chose, okay? Yeah, scroll back out just a little bit, sorry. Because Dave, you're doing a great job, it's the system, go out, you're going out. There you go, right there. Look. Yes. I did that last time, didn't I? I'm sorry. Yeah, scroll back out just a touch. A little more. All right, right there. All right, so the red, I think that's red, I don't know the colors very well. Red indicates that they wanted to go to Prattville. Yellow indicates they wanted to go to Billingsley. What we were trying to ascertain from there is where our bus routes meet where parents wanted to go. For example, I'll use Big Tree community. The line is right here. Honestly, that wouldn't be that difficult to go a little further down and provide transportation. What we were trying to see, and what I was hoping to be able to present to you is, what I'm about to show you is, we're looking at drawing the lines that best meet the demand of the parents. You know, it don't really, initially, when we first set into this, I was like, well, anything above, I believe that's 33, my thoughts were that would go to Billingsley, south would go to Prattville. When we got the data back, obviously a lot of the parents said, no, I'd rather go to Prattville, so I think it's important if we're allowing parents to make that decision for their child, we need to figure out how to get them to where they want to send their child. So, with that being said, I'm moving forward there, Ms. Davis, you're good right there. Actually, go up just a touch. That's fine. It's a rough map, but it kind of shows you, with the letter that we're sending out to parents tomorrow, they will have this map. There may be some give or take, because there was a lot of families down County Road 45. We may look at that, but again, we tried to draw, number one, on bus times, but number two, what parents were suggesting. So this line here on that previous slide, that's where a lot of families were. A lot of those families indicated they wanted to go to Prattville on that side, so that's what we tried to match. We're not gonna make everybody happy, but you know, it's an honest attempt to try to cut down transportation time. Now, obviously, my question was, well, what about down here farthest part south? Mr. Messick ran the transportation numbers. Actually, it's, I think, 37 minutes from here to Billingsley and 38 from here to, I saw Mr. Messick earlier, 38 to Prattville. So it's one of those things you look at on a map, it looks worse than what it is. When he runs it through his algorithm with his program, it's indicating it's about the same distance because of how the roads are laid out. So, you know, again, we tried to have a road as the border as much as possible. For transportation purposes and for clean line purposes to be able to give people a better idea. So that's what pending tonight's conversation as far as that goes. That's what we'd like to get to parents tomorrow, give them a map where they can see, hey, I live here, so the bus will come here, or I'll be able to go to Prattville, or I'll be able to go to Billingsley. Again, the map was drawn, I'll go back one more, the map was drawn in a way to try to meet as many needs as we could. Obviously, I can't meet the needs of the 4 students that want to go to Billingsley that lives in the town of Otago, because there's no way that routing will work when Billingsley is, you know, way up here, and So those families, the majority of them wanna go to Prattville, majority of these families wanna go to Prattville. I do hate it for the two groups that wanna go to Billings here. There's just really no way when you're trying to save cost and trying to be as efficient as you can with buses, there's no way to run two different routes serving the same zone. The other reason we can't do that is your HSA rules come into effect as well, where the people are residing and, where your school zone ties in. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not familiar with the law or the against that talks about priority schools and town schools, but if they choose to go to that school, can they drive to that school?
Yes, now, what we have to do is we have to designate what our transportation plans are gonna be. Now, the letter that's going out tomorrow on the Prattville side, we had to look at capacity of the buildings. In a perfect world, I would have liked to send our families to Daniel Pratt just because, you know, everybody gets off the bus, they're at one location. The problem with that is Daniel Pratt is, I think, 100, 150 kids below what they have historically been, and there may be such an influx of students that we may run into an issue where we don't have the capacity in the building. So the decision in the letter tomorrow is going to be to send, family choosing to go to Prattville, they'll attend the central zones, and that's where we have a little more flexibility with our enrollment numbers. Obviously, if they go to junior high or high school, they'll go there. All right. Yes, sir. So basically, our plan is the letter will be mailed out tomorrow. In the letter, it will have a self-addressed stamped envelope coming back to us. I'll be the first to admit, I've spoken to the faculty again today. I don't like the verbiage in the letter, because we have to, and I'm not complaining anybody, it's just state law. There's a lot of language there. But if parents will see 4 options there, that's the state's guidelines. Option 3 and 4 really do not even apply to us. We're gonna try to clarify that language, for our parents. So the letter is one of those things, because it's state statutes, you have to use state language. They give you the language that you literally copy and paste. We developed a transportation gap plan. And again, the transportation plan was made to kind of match the needs of the parents that wanted to leave. So again, the letter will be mailed out tomorrow. In accordance with that act, they'll have till March the 1st to fill out the form, return it to central office. The law specifies we have to have a point of contact for our families. That's gonna be Ms. Thomas, our communications director. And I am planning on some type of community meeting before the February meeting where I can go over this stuff and explain it in more detail. But as far as the plan for the school, again, I know we're not gonna make everybody 100% happy, but we were trying to draw the zones where we could best accommodate what people were wanting to do. So, any questions or?
I have one real quick on just, if we provide transportation or if a child chooses to go to school, does that affect the eligibility of high school athletic section?
Yes. Now, I ran into that with a parent the other day. They were trying to go to Prattville High School. There was an issue, long story short, who has custody matters, because the HSA's rules are a little different. For them to be eligible for varsity, you have to make a bona fide move to that zone. So, you know, that affects it some. Those are some things we would talk about, you know, as we move forward in that meeting. Now, with us having open enrollment, that portal's gonna probably open up in March or April, everybody countywide. This is just what we're providing transportation for. It's not the open enrollment portal that'll open up for everybody in March. That's the plan. Yes, ma'am.
What is the cost of keeping it they'll open if all of those families leave?
All right, so total enrollment's 240. If the 60 that said they're leaving or more, and again, I say or more because there's 72 kids there that we couldn't reach. So I'm gonna answer your question, but the challenging part of trying to figure out how to handle this moving forward is if the 60 indicate they're leaving, well, that gets you down to about 180. Well, that's also not counting in families that we were not able to reach. Did they decide to leave? Do they not? So I did run some numbers trying to figure that out. Ms. Poe helped me on that. Personnel-wise at Toggle, we spent about $3.6 million in personnel. Now, because some grade level numbers are lower than other schools, You have to staff it, the 3.6 is gonna be your cost, whether it's 100 kids or 300 kids, because, for example, let's say you have 25 third graders. If 20 of them leave, you still gotta have a third grade teacher. So you're gonna have that cost no matter what if the school stays, open. That hurts as far as the funding. Now, the major issue that's coming is what do we do with the units that should leave? All right, so everywhere in the county, if you have kids move from one school to go to the other, we have to accommodate the units going to the school. You cannot do that with a toggle because, again, you gotta have K through 12. So if that number stays the same, about 60 kids or more, I'm projecting 4 to 6 units that we'll have to locally fund, because we're gonna have to send a unit to those schools where the kids go. Does that make sense? So that's gonna be $400,000 to $600,000 plus the transportation cost at about $100,000 roughly each route. With what I showed you a minute ago, currently there's, what are we running, 5 bus routes in a toggle. With that plan, we're gonna have to look at adding at least 3, because the numbers for Billingsley indicate that we need 1 bus for Billingsley. The numbers for Prattville indicate you're probably gonna have to have 2 buses for Prattville. So, your bus routes are gonna go from 5-ish, maybe you can reduce some in the toggle, but you're still gonna have your cost associated with transporting the students as well. So, to answer your question,
Concerned that if those units in the high school, the students aren't gonna have access to the coursework that they need.
the major challenge moving forward is this. A toggle score, obviously, is why we're in this situation. But the way the scorecard is factored, it has to do with the number of students. If you have less than 20 students in certain categories, those scores do not count towards your data. So long story short, when some of the students leave, that's gonna drop the grade, or it's gonna drop that component of their accountability, so some scores will go up. If the score rises to, say, a 70, then we are gonna have an issue with the 60 parents that leave, because right now, we provide transportation. If that changes, we do not provide transportation then, and then those families are gonna have to decide what do they do moving forward. Does that make sense? I mean, I think that's a big issue for 26, 27. The 3.6 million that's there, if the school is open, you're gonna spend that whether it's 20 kids or whether it's, 20 is not exactly a great number, but if there's 100 kids there, you're gonna spend that all the way up to what we're spending now.
But the cost per pupil changed.
Yes, that's a fair point. Yeah, right now, the cost of pupil, I wanna say it's about 14,000 we're spending in a toggle. County average is 9,800, I believe. If you run the numbers at 150 students, the cost per pupil is gonna shoot up to about 26,000 per student. Because you gotta take the cost of you gotta take the cost of what it's costing, and you gotta divide it by the number of kids, and obviously if you lose kids, then that causes that to inversely.
Moving back to the bus routes. This next year, because we're having to fund those bus routes, or you're saying we're gonna have to add, there's no way we can do existing, we're gonna have to add.
A lot of it, the bus routes are not gonna have a final number until we know exactly who's coming, who's not, and then what you have to look at. But what Mr. Peskin and I were talking about is, if you take those numbers, what they mean, I believe, a bus at capacity is gonna be about 48 kids, 48. We don't, the wild card is, we don't know how many of those 72 that we have not reached are gonna decide to go. If 40% of the 72 go, that's gonna be about another 30 kids, now you're up to 90. That's gonna change how you have to have those bus routes.
Why is it that we have that number of students and we can't reach them?
It's a good question.
What would happen tomorrow if somebody were allergic to a bee sting and they're in shock at school? How would we get in touch with their parents?
That's a valid question. We did all the online numbers. We've tried to clean up stuff with hard copies, you
But
know.
obviously, we have identified who those students are.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
we know who we're not
We
contacting.
need to get some valid contact information this week, before the end of the day Friday, to be able to get in touch with their next of kin.
Right. The issue there is obviously when a parent changes a phone, they're supposed to let us know. That happens a lot. I'm imagining that's probably what happened to a lot of the families there. They made some phone number contacts, changes, didn't notify the school. Yes, the issue is if all the numbers we have for the kids that we need to reach, we can't reach them. I mean, we're obviously gonna send a note home to the parents or something, hey, we need you to update your contact information, but yes, it's a valid issue. Valid issue. Any other?
We can't just go like that, the cost per week, 26.
Roughly, yeah, I mean, and again, that's an estimate, because we don't know for sure how many are leaving. About not, that data too, we won't know the final cost of that until we get to the end of the school year, so we're using 23 data, when I'm giving you these numbers, that's 23. In 23, the county average was about 9,800 per student, so yes, that would be, no, the county average was 9,800. If Ottawa has 150 students on their roster next year, then we are forecasting that with the divisors and all to be about 26,000.
That's private school. Tuition, you know, that's a.
And those are some of the challenges that we have. You know, I think the biggest challenge moving forward out of all that's gonna be the families that leave right now, again, we are bound by state law to provide transportation. And we are, we're gonna meet what we need to do. What happens if we're not bound by the next year and then you have to move parents back? Now, yes, we have in-district transportation, or in-district enrollment, they can still stay at the other schools. But I think that's a component, because the cost of that going forward is, okay, if those kids come back, well, yeah, the unit would follow them. But that's a lot of bobbing and weaving with units back and forth, and it's hard to be stable. Y'all heard me say this 100 times. One of our major issues countywide is the instability of units at schools, because we're completely relying on enrollment. And that's why, if there's a large number of students that are leaving a toggle, that's when you're already low numbers, and then you get below that 200 mark, guys, it's very difficult to meet the needs of the kids and to hire teachers and do what you have to do when you're just, it's difficult. I'm dancing around it, but once that number gets lower than what it is, you have challenges.
Well, I guess, as far as jotting down, what are your thoughts moving forward? You know, basically, where are we at curriculum wise, make decisions?
Yeah.
Academically, curriculum, athletically, and then financially, like, what are we looking at as a
Alright.
process?
So I always try to look at things, what are we doing to try to fix the problems? Okay, I can only speak on what we're doing now. And right now, every junior and senior leaves Otagoville and they are at Prattville's campus or Career Tech's campus for half the day. Now, we're seeing good benefit from that. Kids are passing dual enrollment classes, they're doing very well. But they're already off their campus for half the day. I firmly believe your extracurriculars are what holds a lot of your high school kids there. The number of people that are leaving is largely in your secondary setting. That's who's leaving. Well, I attended a lot of football games, I go to basketball games. You know, my understanding is football season ended without a junior or senior playing. I'm not saying why, I'm just telling you, like, I understand there's different reasons, we all understand that. But if your kids that are in the secondary world are leaving because they don't feel like they have what they need on campus, well, that's a trickle-down effect, because here's what's happening, I think this is what's occurring. A lot of your juniors, this year's juniors, and this year's sophomores, so next year's juniors and seniors, are not happy with the product they have, so they're leaving. Well, then if I'm on a sports team or anything, and I see all the upperclassmen leaving, well, I'm thinking, well, we're not gonna be very good, so I'm gonna leave too. And that's been just my personal opinion, I think we've seen a chain reaction of families that are leaving because they don't feel like they have what they need in terms of classroom, they don't feel like they have what they need in terms of athletics. I think it's a vicious cycle. I know with the changes we made at Career Tech, we're doing everything we can to get the kids what they need in terms of that. We struggle with hiring teachers. There's no two ways around that. It's not that we're not trying to. I think Autauqua's location being the furthest out, the western part of the county, I think that hurts some, in terms of getting teachers. And then, you know, I know you've received calls, you know, I've received calls. I know families are wanting it to stay open. I've received those calls too. But if the number of people that are indicating they're leaving are leaving, I don't know how we can look at everybody and go financially, how do you move forward? Like, because the other side of it is, we are staffing the school more than what it technically needs right now. That's evidenced with the per pupil cost. We're spending as much as we possibly can. That's concerning when you're not staffing other schools the way they need to be. Now, I struggle with Autauqua having the options that everybody else has. They don't have band. They started drumline, they're doing all they can. They don't have access, the students don't have access at the secondary level to the things that other kids in the county do. They don't have access to them because they don't have the enrollment to justify a teacher teaching art. You're not gonna have the 20 kids that take art because that, in curriculum wise, that's all they can take. You know, that's my struggle, long term. If the families are indicating they're leaving, then that puts us in a position long term where we've gotta make decisions. Do we try to do something else to protect it? I just know that if we're projecting $26,000 per student, that's gonna be a hard pill to swallow for every other school when you're funding those schools at 9,000, 10,000 students. But it goes back to whatever decisions we're making has to be made for, are they getting a better education? I know for a fact that we're doing more than what, I don't wanna say it like that. I know we're doing all we can right now because we've opened up our scheduling in ways that's never been done in this county, and our kids are benefiting from it. They're doing well in the Career Tech classes, they're doing well in the dual enrollment classes. I can sleep good at night knowing we're doing all we can. If those families are leaving and those kids are not in the building, I don't know how you move forward. I know I rambled there a minute, but it's tough. You're completely enrollment based. Everything in our system is enrollment based. I've been screaming this for 18 months. We don't get additional funding. We have to have enrollment. And if you don't have the enrollment, how do you fund the things that you need? I was out there today. I love going to Autauqua. It's an awesome place. Your teachers are very frustrated because they have more preps, they have more things on their plate than what you do in other areas, but they do in some areas have less kids. It's just a very vicious cycle that if the enrollment goes where it looks like, I don't know with anything that we have in our system.
You made a statement twice here that the students that we're sending to the Career Tech are excelling in those programs. Okay, I would like to ask the professionals that gave the report last time, because there were so few, according to the data of the testing, that were at or above grade level in the entire school. But we're talking about the ones we're sending up here to the Career Tech Center. What, in your opinion, in their professional opinions, what is the difference? Why are they able to excel in dual enrollment classes at the ATC, and we're not excelling in the classroom at their base school?
I think some of it's stability. I think,
I'm sorry, say again?
I think some of it's stability.
Stability.
We've had, I know, I think back to English, we were very fortunate to finally, get somebody hired in the last board meeting. Those students have had a lot of turnover with faculty members. And there's been a couple of years there where your high school kids, I believe, have not had an English teacher. Am I saying that right there, Marshall? I want to make sure I'm correct. I think that's some of it. You have stable environments at the Career Tech Center. I think some of it's expectations too. I mean, you're in a dual enrollment class, you're looking around, hey, I'm in this class. If if this is what I wanna do, is go to college, if I don't do what I need to do, I'm not gonna make the grade I need to make. Again, those are some things we put in place under our term that I think are good. But it does beg the question, how do you make an A or a B or a C in a college prep class, and the year before, you took ACT or whatever and didn't come close to benchmarking. It's a valid question. I don't have a perfect answer for you. I think a lot of it's expectation of the classwork. Now, I didn't mean to go there too. One thing that happens at your smaller schools, your kids that are more advanced, there's no way to build in a schedule where they have, say, advanced classes like they do on other campuses. The numbers are not there. You can't have a teacher with 5 classes that teaches 1 or 2 kids in those classes to better target what an advanced kid needs as opposed to what a standard. I was a standard kid, I don't mean that ugly, but that instruction should look different based on the caliber of the class. An AP class is gonna be taught differently than a standard geometry class like I took. It's just a different world. And the curriculum at Otago right now, because the numbers are so low, that is not a possibility. That's some of the stuff our parents are saying in those surveys is, my kid needs more challenging curriculum, so we're sending them to X, Y, Z.
Let me ask you this. I just need to know if this has changed, okay, because on my visits down there, I don't see this change. And I was asked shortly after being elected to go and speak to the student government at Otago High School. My question to them was, what can I do? Power this board, what can I do to make your educational experience better? And to a student, this is what I was told. Can we just have an elective class with a live person? Okay, is that happening at all?
It is to the best of our ability. That's why we changed, Mr. Dunn's been instrumental in that. Every older kid is going to the Career Tech Center, whereas before, that was not the case. Now, why can't you, because full disclosure, I've been talking to Mr. Ziegler about trying to come up with a welding class at Otago. I mean, y'all know my grandfather taught ag. How do you do it though, if you're running, let's say 9th, 10th, 11th, I'm just gonna use numbers, let's say 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th graders, those classes, you have 15 kids in each class. Well, that teacher's schedule, you're not gonna have all those kids who wanna take welding. You may have 5. So now, we're gonna have teachers across the district that have 5 or 6 classes teaching 25 to 30, and then we're gonna have a teacher making the same with 2 classes teaching 2. That's why the electives are so hard, is you have to have the numbers to justify the unit, and that's not Lyman Woodfin or the board, that's the state, that's our funding. You have to have the numbers to justify, like for example, we were talking about a minute ago, you said, if the school stays open, closed. If those kids leave, we're losing funding. We're gonna have to locally fund about 8 units out at Otago next year on top of what we're doing. Again, because the funding leaves with the kid.
So 8 units at approximately $100,000 per unit.
Yeah. Or 60, is that right? 8, yeah.
So you're losing the per pupil amount that you get from the state.
We're not losing it
You're
as
not
a
losing
district.
the teacher, you still
Right.
gotta pay that teacher.
Right,
you're not
but your
losing
costs are
the
double,
funding.
right, you're not losing the funding, because again, if 20 kids leave a Otago and they'll say they go to Prattville Primary, all we're gonna do is, on one side of the ledger, is move the funding to Prattville Primary, but again, to keep that school open and to have that first grade, you now have to fund somebody at the school, so your costs are duplicated.
So she might have 5 students instead of 10.
Right, right. Now, I've seen some, I've been looking into this, I know some districts, what they do, I'm trying to remember the school's name that had 150 kids, anyway, it's River Reading School, I'm trying to remember which one. They combine, like their elementary teachers teach 2nd grade and 3rd grade. Well, again, now you get into a hiring problem, because those are 2 different sets of curriculum. Now you've mixed kids in a class with 2nd graders, 3rd graders, Literacy Act, non-literacy act, now you're struggling to hire people. It's a ball that just will not relent when you're talking about low enrollment, because you don't have the flexibility. Here's another thing, if let's just say some parents change their mind, let's say the number's 50. Well, now you're below what you earn for an assistant principal, we're going to fund that. You're below a counselor, we're going to fund that. there's just, the funding formula is what I don't think everybody understands, is when the state funds us completely based on enrollment, that's why those numbers matter. That's why it's such a big deal. And I'm not blaming families, families, we opened it up district-wide for a reason. Families should be able to choose where they send their kid for the best education. Preliminary data looks like a lot of families are leaving. When those families leave, it hurts how you can maneuver in the school, because again, you're losing the funding to go through it. You're not losing the funding, you're having to supplement to keep the school up. That's what I'm saying.
Obviously, you put a lot of data together. I know the staff here has done yeoman's work in what, the data that we've asked for. I've asked for some this week, and I appreciate Mr. Dunn and you guys getting that to me. But what are you looking at as solutions? Okay, more so than us just saying, you know what, we don't have enough kids, there's not enough money to do it, we're gonna close the school down. What are we doing in terms of a solution?
My honest opinion is, and again, I can't speak on anything before we got here. When I was hired, specifically you called me in and said, things that I see on the campus with facilities have gotta get fixed. We immediately started fixing facilities. We were working on some big stuff that's kinda stopped now. But we have done everything from a facility standpoint. We've done everything with changing the career tech side. Again, they're the only, the Taulville students are the only students in the county. They spend half the day at the career tech center to make sure that we're giving the kids what they need. Because again, it cannot be offered on the campus. You're asking me what else we've done. At the 220 student level, 240, I would personally try to figure out how to get maybe a career tech unit out there and fund some things like that. When you're dropping below that 200 number, the ripple effect of that, I can't give you an answer on anything else we can do. If we can stay around that number, okay, you can try a little more. But I'll say this, I know I'm just an old coach. The athletics have got to get fixed. Families are leaving at the secondary level because the athletic side, they're not happy with it. I'm not being ugly with coaches or schedules, or I'm telling you.
I get the call.
I'm telling you what the families told us in the data.
Right.
Your secondary families are leaving because they are not happy their kids don't have advanced classes. They're not happy that their kids are having to spend a half a day at Prattville. That's why so many are choosing Prattville. They're saying, if my kid's already there half the day, why don't I just send them the whole day? This is the feedback out here. And then the other thing is, again, I coached against Taulville many years. You know, you go to a game that was packed out. You go to a football game that was packed out. You know, families are seeing that it's not that way, and again, this is not just a Taulville, this is statewide. This is what y'all heard me string all along with the CHOOSE Act and everything else. Our principals gotta understand that you are not only in competition with the school in Elmore County, you're in competition with everybody in your county. Like, I'm not afraid of the competition. I'm afraid in my opinion, I don't think there's anything else we can do if that enrollment's truly 150, 175. I don't know what else can do. If it stays around, you know, that 240 where we're at, okay, I feel good that what we're doing, the data will be better next year. It will be better. Now, there's no world where it's okay that we have single-digit kids that are proficient. We gotta fix that. We're looking internally on other stuff to do.
But it's also not okay that we're gonna have to spend the equivalent of $26,000 per student, where we're spending $9 everywhere else. That's besides what we get that minute. We talk about athletics, and we talk about that being the anchor that holds the secondary students at that school, and yet we've got coaches who are banishing every junior and senior from the team. I don't understand. I was the head coach there. Okay, I've been there. I was the head coach in this county for a long time. I've never heard or cannot understand the philosophy. Why would I get rid of my upperclassmen? And it was not just football. It's now occurred on the basketball team.
Well, I think we have to allow the guys and ladies that run programs to run the program. But I understand what you're saying, because if kids are not playing, or if they're not in band, or if they're not in ROTC, in the secondary world, if they're not there after school, they're usually finding something somewhere else
Because
another school
they
or
don't
something.
have RTC, and juniors, seniors are getting banished from the sports teams. I mean, you have to understand my frustration, and I'm not directing at you, it's at the situation, is we're allowing men to run programs out there that are not allowing the kids to play. I mean, it obviously, maybe we need to help those men make better decisions to get the kids out there. I mean,
Well,
I
as you
just
know,
wanna know
all,
that every.
all programs are evaluated.
Well, they're evaluated, but guess what? This is not the first year it's been happening. That's my frustration. We redid a supplement schedule, we're paying those cats a lot of money to get these results, and they don't really coach half the kids that came out for the team, they tell them to go home. I mean, we wonder why they're talking, okay, and I represent a lot of the people sitting here tonight, okay? And the most frustrating thing in the world is this, is to know there's a problem, is to wanna fix it so dang bad because the history and the traditions that are Taugville, I've been a part of, I get it. And it just seems like the only thing this comes down to is a dollar fee. And that, I know it's like that in everything that we do now, okay? But damn it, there's gotta be something that can be done. And I wanna know that every I's been dotted and every T's been crossed before we don't have a choice with this, I get it. I get it, we don't. And there's gonna be some that are gonna naturally choose to leave, I get it. And Lama, it's not us making that decision then moving forward. It's out of our hands because we can't go out here and pull money off the tree.
Well, let me add this, I mean, I'm gonna answer as honestly as I can. In the county, specifically being a county school principal, I understood how hard it was to hire people. We have removed every restriction that I beat my head against the wall as a principal. We have allowed support personnel to be able to coach. That is a principal's decision, it's a head coach's decision, I'm not gonna tell coaches who to hire, who not to hire. At the end of the day, I evaluate principals evaluate the programs, you know and I know, there was never a end of the year evaluation program in this county, we implemented that this past year. I am requiring, Mr. Barrington's been out there in all the coaches meetings, we're meeting with the principals, we're teaching them how to, quite frankly, assess an athletic program and all programs. We're putting in accountability that's never been in our county. That being said, you said, what else can we do? We did raise supplements. In Taugville, Billingsley, they are the highest paid 1A school in supplements in the state of Alabama. Pickens County may be a little higher. We significantly increased all that because what I heard was, we don't pay enough to be able to hire. We did all that. They had the units.
Did we hire anybody?
We hired a couple. But again, there are some units that did not get hired for whatever reasons. We're having problems getting people to take jobs at a Taugville specifically. Why? I can't answer that. I
Well,
don't know.
I think I can,
I
because we're
know some of
asking
it,
to
but-
go teach 6 and 7 preps every day.
Well, counter to that, we did change the bell schedule. We changed the secondary bell schedule to be a block schedule to cut preps. So you're asking, what else can we do? I'm telling you, we have cut preps for teachers. We have increased supplements. We have increased funding. We have looked at ways to give the students more opportunities at all the, career tech and everywhere else. That's why I keep saying, if the enrollment goes down, I'm telling you, there is nothing else we can do. That's my honest assessment. If the enrollment stays the same, I'm showing you after a year, and anybody that's here or elsewhere can't say, we have done some things that have not been done before. Again, everything we just said. We supported a drum line being started. There was never a supplement. We specifically started a supplement for the drum line at Taugville because I was so happy to see kids out there, and I had a staff member last year volunteer to do it and paid some for her own kids to do it. We created a supplement, you approved it. We're trying to do everything on our end to get kids involved. Parents are deciding to leave. Somebody said it best the other day. I was talking to them and they said, well, you know, I can't fault what y'all done now, I said, well, I've only, I can't speak on anything before, and that's no shot at anybody. The same things we're talking about right now have been the same issues. It's enrollment. It's the way that you have to spend money at schools based on enrollment. That's it. There's no other magic wand.
If we were a business, we would be bankrupt, because our return on investment is terrible. We're putting more money into students that go to a Tagoville, and our graduation rate is what, 40%?
I think, I don't know, probably, I think it's like
We
60.
had grades
yeah.
where there were only 1 or 2 children proficient. We would be closed down bankrupt. Our return on investment, it's not a good business, it's not working.
Well, and
But at the same time, the juniors and seniors that we put on a bus every day to go to the ACTC are excelling. And there's Mr. Dunn. I mean, am I right in what I'm saying there?
They've done great. The kids that took the AUM class have done good in those classes. The kids that are taking all the other classes are doing well. So,
again, you can't have a dual enrollment class at a Tagoville because we can't get a college instructor to drive to a Tagoville.
Right.
We did look at partnering with Wallace and Selma. We didn't get very far with it. The barriers, I hate to keep sounding like a broken record, the barrier is enrollment. So what was our solution? Mr. Dunn gets a lot of credit. He got AUM instructor, they're going to Tagoville, and again, a Tagoville is the only school that even has that option. Every kid has an option to take those classes there. You ask, what else can be done? Respectfully. If the enrollment's 150, 180 kids, there is no other answer. There's nothing else with the enrollment that we can do. If the enrollment stays about that 240, 230, 240, okay, and I'm not saying that to guilt anybody for leaving. I don't think anybody should guilt somebody for making the best decision for their child. But at the end of the day, this is a business.
And I'm gonna say this, okay? I don't think there's anybody in this room that, given the choice, knowing that their child is getting subpar everything and achieving at a subpar level, would choose to have their kids there. I mean, I wouldn't.
That's the major dilemma, moving forward is, when I went to a Tagoville today, I met with the staff, they asked me a lot of questions, had a great conversation. I think personally, what my recommendation with you guys would be, at some point, we gotta put this to bed, we gotta move one way or another. And I think, let me do a community meeting, let me explain the transportation stuff, let me explain it all. I'm sure there's gonna be questions about closures, I will answer that to the best of my ability. And I think come February, we decide once for all, which way are we going moving forward for next year? I don't think anybody wants to see a school close or anything like that. It bothers me profoundly. I mean, my uncle worked out there, my granddad was out there. It bothers me profoundly. But if the families are leaving, we can't fund it.
So honestly, I don't feel like I'm gonna even have a voting night. Because there is no vote for me to make if we're looking at 140 children K-4 through 12.
That's what I appreciate you saying, like, the process, of the decision making. Administration is imperative. What will that look like as far as you guys get something that was an office review of,
Talking about dates.
like, yeah.
I'll get with Mr. Ziegler, we'll probably do it, like we've done with the other state of school stuff, I'll probably do it in the lunchroom or something. Put some dates out there, basically it's gonna hinge on what Mr. Ziegler has open and, try to schedule it where we don't have the hard part right now is in the spring, we all know there's a lot of extracurriculars and there's a lot of things going on. But I would like to do it then, kinda explain the map. I'm sure the questions are gonna come up about closing. I can go into that a little bit on what that process would look like. But I go back to, and I said this to the staff today, and they agree. we owe it to our parents to let them know for sure, one way or the other, what's the outcome. We owe it to our employees who are looking at us going, you know, it's already hard enough to find people now. Right now, there's a lot of uncertainty. I can't have our teachers bouncing and quitting and going elsewhere else, and then, you know, we decide to keep the school open, and then can't feel that, we can't get there. We need clarity come to February, you know, so our staff members know, our students know, our community knows, and, you know, I think it's part of the job too, to hear concerns. Right now, we've heard a lot of concerns from the families that are leaving. That's who's called me, that's who called you guys, that's why y'all asked a lot of questions you asked last board meeting. I'm sure that this is coming up now, we'll hear from the other parents. I think it's important to hear, try to come up with the best plan.
So with the open enrollment, do we have any families in Polk County choose to go to high school?
I think a total picked up, I wanna say 3 or 4 kids, in the open, and I'll double check that. Ms. Connor's got it on file, they'll pull it for me, I think it was 3 or 4, I wanna say they lost about 15 to 18 off the top of my head. Those students.
A net negative of
Yeah,
13.
and that's one thing too, those families that left, if they decide to stay at the school, obviously with them living in the zone, we'll have to provide the transportation next year if they go to the central zone schools, you know, if that's the plan moving forward. Yes, ma'am.
So with 72 families that have not been contacted, how are they gonna know about these community meetings that are like influential in theirs?
I'm not being ugly, I don't know what else to do, I mean, we're,
Hey, I mean,
you know,
I want to say the school out of building is not very well attended.
right, we will sit out of,
And just to understand that these people are excellent.
yeah. No, I think what we'll do is, like Mr. Glover said, we'll immediately start trying to figure out, maybe it's letters home with the kids that we were not able to reach. Hey, our contact information you provided is not working, we're trying to get in touch with you. That's coming regardless here in the next couple of days, because I do have to send this letter. Now, that is my concern with all this. You know, that was one thing that came up in the staff meeting today. The law says we have to provide a plan, you know, we have to have it in the mail, by Friday. Well, my only concern there is right now that plan is, obviously with the school staying open, and based off the feedback we've received so far, right, I just showed y'all the map. If the families leave, and if there's a decision to consolidate, we will have to obviously then look at it again, because you have to look at who wants to go where and reconsider some things. I do see some potential conflict with parents who went, hey, I wanted to go to Billingsley, but now I'm scheduled to go to Prattville. I get that, you know, that's why I think it's important, we gotta try to make as much contact as we possibly can and get as good at data, even with these 72, how many are looking to leave, and nail that down.
But those 72, like, do they have home addresses?
Yes, in the system, yes,
I mean,
yeah.
like, how do their teachers get to know?
Yeah.
And
Question.
that would make sense.
And I'm not being ugly on this either, you know, but it does explain some of the issues you have. If we can't reach parents and we can't communicate with parents, how do the parents know if their child is struggling? Like, and I'll tell you, that's one thing that came up with some parents, with the teachers that I met with individually. They were concerned, they're like, we don't see, and now guys, this ain't the talk, this is the country. You don't have the parental involvement like you used to. I think it hits your smaller communities harder than it does your bigger communities. I saw the same thing at the party, like, the way times are changing, it's not the same as it used to be, exactly. Any other?
It's very sad.
Well, I agree, and, what we'll do is, we'll get that letter out tomorrow, again, just, hopefully everybody understands it, it may change, it may not, we'll get that letter out, we'll schedule a community meeting. Like I've always done, I'll take any question, I'll answer everything possible in my ability, but I think February, we need to nail it down and go, you know, one way or the other, because I know we're all discussing and trying to solve the problems, at the end of the day, that's what we're looking at. The longer it drags out, the more uncertainty there's gonna be, the more people's gonna leave, the more teachers gonna leave, we're just digging our hole further and further, we just need to decide what we're gonna do.
So February, we can make a decision, yes or no, and we would, yeah, whatever.
That would be my recommendation.
Recommendation.
Absolutely. Anything else? I think that was it. Okay, quick next word. Thank you. Got off track. All right, before the recommendation for approval for the consent agenda, I want to give you some information on the items that are listed on the consent agenda. Item number 3 contains a list of items that are no longer in working condition and need to be disposed. Item number 4 contains all athletic field trips for a month. Item number 5 contains a supplemental pay request for services provided across the district. These are things like tutoring or implementing programs. Item number 6 is a request for approval for a quote to purchase 8 portable weapons detection units. The units will provide an added layer of security and they're portable, so that will help as well. The settings on these can be adjusted to specific items. We have tested these units at Crown High School, and huge shout out Dr. Ferris and his staff. They actually went down to Dothan and observed these units being used live. Obviously, we have metal detectors now, and I've said this publicly numerous times. We use them. We use them randomly. The detectors we have now are very good, but they're very, very, very sensitive. Anything, if a kid comes in with a 3-ring binder, it goes off. I've publicly said this numerous times. I'm gonna say it one more time. We had a very bad day when there was some social media threats. I caused some problems at Prattville High School because I told Dr. Ferris, go ahead, because we've been adjusting our unit settings that we have now, our metal detectors we have now. I said, go ahead and run those settings. We've been trying. The result was it took 2 hours to get kids in school. The detectors we have right now are not possible to use daily with the staffing limitations we have. These new ones, like I said, they are used at some of the other schools. We visited them. I had the group come in and demo these at Prattville High School. We were able to run every kid through them. I think the last kid walked in at 7:55. So we went from last kid walked in at almost 10 o'clock, 9:30, I believe it was, to 5 minutes past. So these work much better. The reason I'm only ordering 8 is because the cost of these are significantly more than any of the others. The cost for each unit is $18,833. The 8 units will be $150,668. We do have our ATF funds that we can use for safety and security. We have some money at the end of the year that we purposely held back. I would like to use these units as a pilot to see how they work, go around to our schools, force our admins to use it. Let's look at it, see how they work, what's our staffing limitations, get a better plan for our staffing limitations moving into next year. But I don't want to buy the, quite frankly, 20 that we would need to run them daily, because I don't want to run into a situation where we buy these and it don't work like it did in the demo, because that's the nature of the game. So we're looking to buy these to use, put them in place. If they work, we will scale them. Hopefully we get to the point where every kid can walk through and everybody feels safe that there's nothing on our campuses. So the open gate units, again, will hopefully allow us to use these detectors daily, or at least more frequently than we can now. The obvious question from the public, I would assume, would be, what about the ones we currently have? They will still be used. You have situations where you need to find something very small. Those units are very sensitive. They will be an added layer of what we're doing. If we have a specific threat, we can use those. They pick up metal. The weapons units are designed to pick up, quite frankly, guns in large items. They're not designed to pick up a 3-ring binder. So it's just we bought those last year. This is just a little better technology that should be better. So that's the thought process. Item number 7 contains a request to purchase a vehicle that will be used for the day-to-day operation of the technology department. Long story short, we've been down a vehicle. Our techs need it. Obviously, you see them around. They fix things. They have toolboxes. They have tools. This is a vehicle that we can finally get our person in a vehicle. I think right now they work out of a van, and getting in and out of the van with a toolbox is not fun. Item number 8 contains a contract to allow First Baptist Church to use 6 buses for a one-day event they are hosting. The Talk County Board of Education will drive the buses. Are there there any questions with the consent agenda as presented?
Portable units, because they're portable, we can use them at games,
Yes.
kind of events, not just, that's what
Right.
kind of makes these really nice.
Yeah, and the ones we have are portable too, but, you know, these you literally pick up and, move. I do have some, obvious concerns. My major concern is, are they gonna do what they're advertised to do? Are they gonna do what the demo showed they can do? Until you get them on campus and run them daily, you really don't know.
The Dothan High School.
Yes, Dothan uses them. Again, Dr. Ferris and his admin team one morning went, drove all the way to Dothan, watched them in action, came back, said, hey, we feel really good about this, we can do this, and, I would feel much better. The dilemma I have that's keeping me up at night, I think all of us would agree, we bought the metal detectors last year, we tried to use them daily, they can't be used daily. I don't wanna look at our families and go, if heaven forbid something ever occurred, and we have metal detectors on campus, they just are not able to be used daily in the setting of the school. You just don't have the personnel. With those detectors, you're gonna have about 4 personnel people at each one of them, and you don't have the staff to do it. With these others, because they're much less sensitive, in terms of the little stuff, when somebody, hits hot, a lot of times it's a Stanley Cup, that's what we saw at Pratt High School. It's a lot easier to take one person off, do a quick search, and everybody else is just steadily coming in. It was really impressive to watch it, right?
Can we sell some of the old?
We can, yes, we could, it's all, they're perfectly fine, just, they're so sensitive, intake at a school with metal binders is very, they're the ones you see at, I mean, a lot of people use them, Montgomery Courthouse uses, they're great units, they're just, yes. And we've been dialing on settings for a year and a half, and it's just not, it's not possible. Any other questions? All right, so I recommend approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation, and I get a motion to approve. Motion to approve, second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
All right, at this time, I recommend approval of personnel report as presented.
Do I get a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
A second? Any discussion? All in favor?
All right, at this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Pope to come forward and provide us for December 2024 bank and financial statement.
Good evening. December represents the third month of our fiscal year, so we should be operating around 25% at this time of our fiscal year. As disclosed in your board packet, in your snapshot analysis, revenues were functioning at 29%, or 25 million of our total budget, and district expenditures were at 24%. So, and what you can see with that is our trend for our expenses, we are trending is where we should be, within 25% of our budget. Our revenue influx is a little misleading at this point, because this is the time frame when we start getting the large tax dollars for the ad valorem for the mills. So you'll start seeing that balance back out, so it's a little misleading for this month. But we are right on track of our spending, of where we should be. Our fund balance ended at 53 million. Total payroll for December was at 6.8. As you, also in your board packet is details of our local revenue analysis. Total to date is at $7.3 million. We're at 34% of our local revenue budget. December collections were 3.8. That is a typical number for the month of December due to those ad val collections. You should also see that high number again in January, and then we'll start seeing its stabilization after that. Please keep in mind that these local revenues are allocated to meet our state foundation match, our capital outlay match, and any additional debt matches that we have to make. Are there any questions for the month of December? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pope. At this time, I recommend approval of the December bank and financial statements as presented.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation, may I get a motion to approve? A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
All right, board members, just 2 quick items on the superintendent report. First off, Prattville Kindergarten opened up today. Huge shout out to Ms. Womble, her teachers, staff, support staff. Well-oiled machine. Mr. Camara did a great job. helping to organize all the operations. Mr. Messick, I mean, the CO staff, everybody pitched in, but again, huge shout out to the teachers there. Also, I just drew a blank, I want to say it was, what's the church right there called?
Center Point.
Center Point. I want to give them a huge shout out to them as well. A lot of their, church members just showed up and started helping with boxes, you know, it meant a lot to our teachers. But it was really good job, everybody all around. We're gonna have some delay with transportation there because obviously the kindergarten's a little further than the other schools, or the old kindergarten. So, you know, there's gonna be some delay there, as we keep working it out, but great job all around. Last thing, we got a small gift for you guys up here, as you know, January is Board Appreciation Month, we appreciate what you guys do, it's not an easy job. I appreciate how thoughtful all you are, and I appreciate how much you care about our kids, and, we are very lucky to have you all, so on behalf of everyone, we want to say thank you, appreciate what you do, and, look forward to moving forward and working together. That's all the items I have, do I have any questions?
There being no further business, may I get a motion to adjourn?